I sure hope you're ready for this, because I've been waiting for a while to show you the damage.
Hopefully one of the last hauls for a while, because I really need to do a complete redesign of my olfactory library, and I need to get rid of some of the, or like exchange or sell like probably like 30 perfumes that I have in my collection before I indulge in another spending spree like this. Nevertheless, my collection of Frederic Malle perfumes is now +2. I haven't had a single one for years, even though I kept buying decants and travel sizes. And all of a sudden, 2021, 2022, it's where kind of like the gates broke. It's a flood of Frederic Malle in my life. And these two were actually gifts from my subscriber, which I'm like eternally grateful for. One is no less than 100 ml of Un Rose, a very much this rose-centric perfume is, to me, is very centric in this mixture of Bulgarian rose oil and red wine. It's definitely for those who love an intense rose oil kind of scent. I'm very grateful that I have this to give it a go. That said, that's usually not the kind of rose that I'm the most excited about. We'll see how that goes. Maybe it will change my mind. I heard that this is pretty much a kind of cult favorite when it comes to rose oil centric perfumes. The rose that I actually have been dying to try by Frederic Malle is Portrait of a Lady by Dominique Rapillon. Portrait of a Lady is non-obvious type of rose. It's definitely, or at least in my book, it's more of a cold weather type of perfume because it's rich, it's incensey, somewhat smoky and coniferous, but such a beautiful raw scent. If I had to choose just on a whim between Portrait of a Lady and Un Rose, I don't have to convince anyone here that Portrait of a Lady is truly one of the most famous, and I don't know if it's still true, but I think at some point best-selling fragrances by Frederic Malle. A very successful launch, which I've been dying to put my hands on, and now I have 100 ml. Thank you so much to my subscriber. I was in disbelief that she was willing to part with her bottle, but you know, not gonna say no. She actually gave me quite a few bottles, so let's go through those. She also wanted to part her ways with Velvet Rose and Oud Cologne Intense by Jo Malone, which to me is a very standard kind of this rose oud combination, though this one is a little bit cleaner. It's not as rich and spicy as the Arabic versions would be, where like pretty much the composition comes from. That said, I'll give it a go, but I'm not convinced. When it comes to the Western style, like the cleanest, the most daytime appropriate rose oud accords, I would say Micallef Royal Rose Oud is probably still better. But like, I'll give it a go, we'll see. It's pleasant, it's very wearable, it's pleasant, it's just, I'm not sure it's that special. This, I was dying to try, and I was so happy that she was willing to part with this full-size bottle. This is Spice Must Flow, one of the more recent launches by Etat Libre d'Orange. Let's see if I can show you how. Okay, this is how it opens. Just wanna completely fall apart. Okay, let's do this. Ain't that cool? Spice Must Flow. I was kind of surprised that Etat Libre d'Orange went with this story, because this is surprisingly simple and wearable. That's not what I would expect from this brand. That said, I completely understand we all need to sell more bottles. I get it. Every brand needs to innovate and kind of expand its target audiences. That said, it smells similar to me to Velvet Rosewood. It's just this very comforting, mildly spicy, kind of dark rum, liquor-based fragrance. It's very comfortable, it's very pleasant, but is it really something that's memorable, unique? I don't know. I love the packaging. I'll give it that. This is very enjoyable to have in your hands. It's high quality make, very high quality bottle, the lid, everything about it is top notch, what you would expect from Etat Libre d'Orange. It even has a branding on the glass. That said, for some reason for a fragrance that has a name Spice Must Flow, I thought Etat Libre d'Orange would make the spiciest, the weirdest, the most shocking take on spices. And this is just a very comfortable, you know, this kind of like glint wine plus dark rum plus kind of this kind of baked goods kind of fragrance. It's appetizing, it's comfortable, it's easy to wear. We'll see, maybe there are really like a little bit more interesting facets of it coming out as I wear it on my skin. Not gonna knock it down just yet. All right, this was a very, very lucky purchase from Sandberg, Artiste Nanban. I've been circling around Nanban for a while, but the way that it was marketed for some reason made me feel it would be very austere, like very unfriendly. I don't know why I thought that, but Persian saffron, coffee absolute. I've been burned so many times by coffee fragrances that have nothing to do with coffee and more like lavender syrup with caramel. Just saying. Then when this arrived, and actually it had these facets of freshly ground coffee, I was like, yes, finally something that at least goes toward the smell of coffee beans in particular. It's very chocolatey to me. It has myrrh, frankincense, sandalwood, Persian saffron, and coffee absolute. To me, this is like dark chocolate with a little cup of espresso. Oh, and the spiciness of this, actually, that's something that I would expect Spice Must Flow could be, but isn't. Nanban, me wants it. It's so good. As you can see, I already used up like 2 ml. Just trying to sniff it here and there. Beautiful perfume. I'm not sure, well, it might actually work in hot weather. Hot Arabian spices tend to work well, even in humidity, while these more baking goods, fatter, more edible accords, usually when they blend with hot skin or even sweat, it just becomes smothering and rather disturbing. Given how spicy it is, I might try to wear it one summer night in Florida and see if it actually survives or even blossoms in the heat. It has potential, definitely does. So far, one of my favorites that I got from Sandberg. I'm like so excited. I need to start hunting for the bottle. Such an amazing scent, and yet probably one of the very few, if not the only, scent where the dark chocolate and coffee finally come through, at least to my nose. This was the memory from my last visit to Moscow when this collection was just released, was years ago. And it just reminded me of these baked cakes with all kinds of dried fruits and orange peels, or like candied orange inside. This is Chopard collection, Orange Mauresque. Many people told me that these lines, these like boutique lines by Chopard, are actually not that unique and they're not really worth the price. That's what I'm trying to say, that they're just kind of like, oh, it's all right, you know. But like, is it really worth the price tag, like of $300? Not really. I must say that I really enjoy the colored glass. I'm a sucker for like green with gold accents and blue with gold accents. So I fell in love with the bottle almost immediately. When it comes to the scent, this is a winter type of orange. Just like I said, it's like the baking goods. It's like this pound cake with all kinds of dried fruits in these like the dried oranges in them. It's very wintry, it's very Christmassy to me in that regard. I love it. It's simple, I agree, there's nothing super sophisticated or complex about this fragrance, but ever since I tried it there and it was Christmas time and Moscow was just swimming in all kinds of light installations, it was beautiful, especially downtown. And we were going to this huge department store and trying all kinds of perfumes, and it was there. And I remember just sprayed it all over, and that kind of anchored my memory of beautiful northern celebration of winter. So I'm very happy to have that. It brings back really good memories for me. That said, would I recommend this full price? Probably no. Could it be something worth checking out for, let's say, $100? I would say yeah. If you like that kind of olfactory narrative, you know, that kind of journey. All right, this is painful to show. I used up a 4 ml of Bulgari Rubinia, it's also their boutique line, and decided to get it full size. I found a tester on Mercari, bought it, it wasn't cheap. And when it arrived, first, it didn't even look like it was authentic. I still have certain doubts, but it seems like it's a good make. But what's worse, it's not Rubinia. There's actually one fragrance that is that looks very similar, and I somehow just missed it in the item description, that it's Bulgari Morena. And this fragrance is mostly about slightly bitter, slightly almondy, kind of like almond flowers or cherry florals. There's something almost a little bitter floral about it, but not too bitter, like green almonds can be sometimes. It's very elegant, ethereal, it's very thinly weaved, and again, the bottle, you know, might be a win for some and a loss for some others, but it definitely has style, it has specific aesthetic. That said, it's not Rubinia. I made a mistake. Oh, and I think it also has a little bit of tuberose, which always gives me a headache. So as much as I wanted a bottle like this in my collection, as much as I really wanted Rubinia, I can't wear this fragrance. It's just not my cup of tea. I will probably go for almost everything else in my collection before I would use this, even though it's a very elegant, kind of like sophisticated city, morning in the city kind of scent. So if anybody wants to swap, let me know. I'm just looking at it, I was like, oh my god, so much money wasted. Anyway, this actually I agonized for months about. I finished an 8 ml decant of Montale Greyland, and it reminded me of sort of a mixture of Honor by Amouage, the men's version, which essentially is like a very black spice, black pepper centered type of perfume, and more like a vintagey, dusty, heavy velvet curtains type of perfume, which is called Olympia Music Hall by Histoires de Parfums. This is like combines them too. It's both black spices and a little bit of this kind of cold stone, mossy, but yet comforting, dusty presence. I can't quite describe it, to be honest. I used up 8 ml and I kept going back for it. It's It's a very atypical Montale. I don't even know anything close to it in their range. So I was kind of surprised that they even had scents like that. I know that they have black pepper, which pretty much is what it says it is. It's like the smell of this black, dry, hot spice. But I do have Amouage Honor, and it's as black peppery as it gets. And that's almost a little bit simplistic to me. I do prefer this as a more refined and more sophisticated blend. I'm a big fan of Greyland. I don't know what to tell you. I used up 8 ml, I bought 15 ml, and already I think 5 ml through. It's something that I would totally wear for rainy weather, cold weather, for like cold northern summer or spring. Montale Greyland is to me very beautiful in this stony kind of austere way, but yet it has this a little like almost like a damp coat that still protects you from rain but already is getting slightly soaked. It's this kind of odd comfort of nasty weather. I'm sorry, it's probably not the best description of an olfactory pyramid, but that's the kind of the anchor that I got with it, and now I don't know where it came from. Like, nobody talks about it. It's not exactly that well known, but I'm a big fan. And again, it's such an atypical Montale. It's not anything close to what people are used to expect from them. And this was a backup. I have 2 travel size of Matahari 1876 by Histoires de Parfums. Hypnotic, bitter, absinthe-like powder. It is poisonous in this kind of witchy way. I already used up more than a half of my 15 travel size, 15 ml. I have another 15 ml, and when I saw it with a like more or less appealing price tag, I was like, I'm just gonna get it. So I got myself a 60 ml half book. Very happy about it, because you never know. These days, you keep waiting, and when you're actually ready to buy a full-size bottle, it's already discontinued. So I'm not taking that chance on probably the most unique fragrance by Histoires de Parfums. The most niche, the most unique, in a way I would say probably controversial. Therefore, any olfactory creations that have well-defined character, by definition, is not everybody's cup of tea. But to me, there's something absolutely narcotic about the bitterness with the sweet powder that's kind of lurking behind. Usually, powdery fragrances open with powder, and then they go somewhere. This becomes more powdery as it lives on your skin. It's just such a poisonous green powdery scent. Oh, love it. Matahari is one of like my all-time favorites when it comes to niche perfumery. This was a blind buy, and I'm still kind of like torn about it. Don't even know like what to tell you. This is Diptyque Tam Dao. I developed quite an appetite to try new and old and classic Diptyque fragrances. First of all, I absolutely adore their packaging, the graphics. I find that their bottles have very unique, high-quality design and make. I find that most of their florals are exquisitely thinly woven together, much more interesting in my not-so-humble opinion than Erin or Jo Malone or many others. Many other brands that you find readily available that make kind of this like spring florals and such. I find that Diptyque has a little bit more pedigree in the way that they make florals. That said, obviously neither Jo Malone nor Diptyque have only floral perfumes, but I think that's kind of they started. And without a doubt, if you want to start with Diptyque, start probably with Philosopher's, because that will define a standard for fig-centered perfumes. Like after that, no other fig perfume you will be the same for you. Like they will all have to climb a ladder to get there. Tam Dao is kind of, it feels a bit dumpy. It's a dumpy amber scent. There's something about it that just seems to me like when you put all your old winter coats in one box and they put it in the attic and then you open it up years after, and there could be like already some mold somewhere, there could be some moth damage. There's just something about it that seems a bit, I don't want to say dated, but like vintage. It's like a vintage smell to me. Not in the way that the classical French perfumery was made, but in the way that that's how antique stores often smell. There's something about it that is kind of like a nostalgia trip to the better times that you actually never lived in, and that's why they seem better. So if you're like a nostalgia romantic, maybe Tam Dao is the place to kind of pour yourself a drink or tea or coffee, sit down in an old rusty chair, spray a few drops of Tam Dao and kind of just ruminate, like open a book that you got in a like reselling store and just kind of think about simpler times. But that's not something that I really want to wear on a daily basis. I would say actually Greyland, to that matter, has a little bit of that kind of dumpy, maybe it's patchouli, I don't know what it is, this kind of slightly dumpy facet, but this has movement. This somehow keeps me pulled together, like as if there's like side wind coming and just pull your jacket or your coat like around you so you don't get blown away by the cold wind. This is more like climbing in the attic and just going through all of the boxes that are there. It's both comforting but also kind of not very enchanting to me. It just doesn't quite grab me. But we'll see. I'll give it a go and see if it grows on me. This was a purchase after a lot of back and forth. I used up 4 milliliters of this fragrance and decided to buy a full-size bottle. Now I'm gonna regret it. This is Serge Lutens La Couche du Diable. Fairly recent release by Serge Lutens. I must say that people who do know about the brand tend to gravitate toward their classics, things that they released in early 2000s rather, if not even before. Anyway, this is something that is already kind of probably at max 5 years old or something like that. La Couche du Diable is a very sweet kind of prunes, plums, kind of dried fruits with sweet, sour, incensey twist to it. This is a unique take on gourmands, which Serge Lutens has quite a few. If you like sweet gourmand fragrances by Serge Lutens, you will probably like the La Couche du Diable. I'm not the biggest fan. I don't know why I thought this would work differently, and I thought using up 4 milliliters of this very fragrance would, educate me enough so I could really narrow it down. Like, do I love it? Do I like it? Do I dislike it? I don't think I really learned much. That's the weird case when you can go through a lot of rather large stretches of time trying something out, and then you're like, one day you love it, another day you just, there's something weird about the sour incense in here. And another day it's like, no, but these are like such amazing dried fruits and they're so yummy. I'm all over the place. Still don't know if I like it or not. But La Couche du Diable 50 ml, I love their bottles. I love their bottles. At least this one is mine. I'll keep torturing myself until I arrive at a conclusion eventually. And probably the last full-size bottle that I can see around here, we're finally getting through, is Arizona by Proenza Schouler. I got it in TJ Maxx for $27. And roughly 60% of the decision making was because of the bottle. I don't know if you can see it, but this bottle reflects pink on the sides, gold on top to bottom. It's just such a beautiful bottle. It's truly a work of art. It's a very high quality make of a bottle. I dare say it's as good as Etat Libre d'Orange or Diptyque. When you look at at the plastic, at every single corner, at the polish on the glass, it's very pleasant to look at and to have in your hand. You know where I'm going with this. It really falls miserably short from what it promises. Proenza Schouler promises us so much with this aesthetic of the desert, but what this essentially represents is soft, sweet musks, skin-like musks with strawberry syrup. Might be your thing, and kind of a little bit of almost like also, it's like strawberry with watermelon jam kind of thing. It's simple, naive, almost girly, but I don't mean it in a good way. I tried. I really did try. And I must say that I found a very close dupe for it in my collection that costs even less. So full sizes is probably $70. I found it in TJ Maxx for, let's say, 30 with tax. This is $10. And this is Histoires de Parfums number 2 with the pink flower on top. This is such a weird and unique olfactory creation. It's almost bizarre. This is slightly sweet sour watermelon with powder. As niche as it gets, but it costs $10. But this kind of like sweet sour watermelon in Histoires de Parfums 2, and this kind of strawberry syrupy sweet musks, they come very close on my skin. I would say this is probably still a little bit more sophisticated, but oddly enough, this is more fun and this is more niche in the way that it kind of unravels. So here's my confession. I'm still gonna keep the bottle. I love the design of the bottle. It's one of the most beautiful designs I've seen in a while. It's been a minute since I've seen something so extraordinary. It's just I kept looking at it all night and all day. All these pink, gold, orange reflections, all of these facets that are slightly kind of worn down. I hope camera can do its justice. It's really beautiful. Okay, that is probably full-size bottles, but I have so many samples that you guys sent me. Thank you so much. And again, if you want to send me something for blind tasting or something that you've recently been loving, or maybe a controversial fragrance that you'd like me to review, the address is down below. I got from my subscriber, a subscriber asked me to review 3 recent roses by Tom Ford. So we have here Rose de Russie, we have here Rose de Amalfi, and we have here Rose de China. And in addition to that, I also got thrown Diaz and Durga Rose Atlantic. Not only that, but another subscriber sent me Penhaligon's Elizabethan Rose. Roses are, I guess, they never lost their popularity, but I feel like they're also gathering more speed again. So let me know if you're curious to hear about the recent rose creations. Like, not only we have these, we also have Une Rose by Frederic, Malle, and Portrait of a Lady. And I probably have 20 more that I possibly never talked about on this channel, just in my collection. We'll be waiting, not so patiently, for your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.